what are we doing that's so different? Because we've got competition around us everywhere. Even, your Starbucks next door is competition. It's
time and money.
Exactly.
Yep. Hey there, troublemakers. Russ Van Natta with the Memory Makers podcast here, the show that helps you create amazing customer experiences and make more memories. And I am joined by Danielle Walker, and we are at 360 and having a fabulous time, but I'm so excited to dive in with you and learn a little bit more of your journey. And today I think we're going to focus on how are we doing more, sales and development and really making an impact for the business on that side of things. So for those who don't know, how did you get into the family entertainment business? Where did you get your start, and where are you now?
Gosh, that's a good question. So I have a very fascinating journey in my personal opinion. I started out in the tariff and trade industry.
Oh,
so totally
sexy.
different. Yeah, very fun. Worked there for about 10 years.
Okay.
My now husband, and he's from, Michigan, the middle of the state, Lansing area. So we started dating and decided, we were going to take things, and it was becoming more serious. So moved out there, had to leave my job.
Yeah.
Where we live is in the middle of nowhere. So I was unable to work remotely. So I had no choice but to leave. And so from there, I worked at a salon.
Okay.
And then for his birthday, actually, he's like, I want to go race go-karts.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, where? And so he talked about this new karting venue in Michigan near us, and I was like, okay, let's do that. I was thinking, like, let's go to the west side of the state and get, like, a really cool cabin.
Yeah.
And he's like, hell no, like, we're gonna go race go-karts. And I'm like, okay.
All right.
So we went to the venue and we raced go-karts, and we loved it so much. We joined leagues, and this venue had only been open maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month. And so then we were there all the time. And I was spending so much money there that I'm like, how can I get them to pay me?
Not a bad move.
Yeah. So I started out just applying as a bartender, just something fun to do on the side. Got engaged. I'm like, this will kind of help pay for the wedding.
Yeah.
And I would run competitions with a lot of the guests at the bar. I would be like, hey, if you can beat my go-kart lap time, like, I will buy you a drink. And
Nice.
So these guys would go to the front and they would buy races. And so from there, the owner was like, hey, I was offered the opportunity to become the sales manager. So I was a little hesitant at first. I didn't have any experience in sales, but he was able to kind of coach me through what sales was.
Sure.
And I decided to take on the challenge. And so
what were some of the biggest hurdles? I mean, obviously, like, you can read different books and you can do that. What was some of it a combination of, were there some books or some curriculum or some like sources that were super helpful, or some of it was just, hey, we got to kind of figure this out by doing a little bit too?
So I think it was a little, we started out taking the Dale Carnegie sales training course.
Yeah.
But then his wife actually has a strong sales background. So I worked under her for a couple of months. So I learned a lot of that through her. But then we had like this book club. And so, all the leadership team, we would read books, he would recommend sales books, like Zig Ziglar and everybody knows him. Right?
Yeah.
And from there, I just kept learning and growing, and then we ended up bringing on a coaching, Trainertainment.
Fantastic.
Brought them on, and so I learned everything that I needed through various tools.
Yeah, I love that. So then your time there, how long were you at that facility before you ended up at Legacy 925?
So I was there almost 6 years.
Okay.
About 6 years. So it started out, we were still in the toddler stages.
Yeah.
So we kind of developed that program, and it started out, it was me and I think there might have been one other person. And then the owner's wife, so worked under her, but she was also focusing on marketing as well.
Sure.
So she was pushing me more in the direction of sales. And so she eventually left, and then we kind of grew the department. We scaled because, the venue was growing. And so from there, I had 2 sales coordinators, administrative. We had admins, and then we had a couple party hosts, which we call concierges. So I was there for about 6 years.
Yeah. Well, and you definitely, I think one of the things that people lose sight of, especially when they're in the early development stage, is how important that sales development pipeline is. And that is not a, if you build it, they will come kind of a thing. I mean, you guys have to get out into the community and being at the Chamber of Commerce events and hosting and trying to just hit a bunch of different people's radar in a variety of ways. Was there anything that you felt in your time there that was like, ooh, hey, this is a good, thing that we if we do this, one of these things consistently and on a regular basis, whether it's getting out and going to the networking events or doing those kinds of things, or even with the party setup and your concierge guests, like what were some of your favorite tips and tricks that you started to pick up as you were getting your tenure in?
Yeah, I mean, the Chamber of Commerce was huge for us. Sales and marketing, we both kind of tackled that. So marketing would go out, we would, set up booths, and then, for sales, we would have somebody out there, interacting. And so we tried to stay pretty consistent with that. But then even, hosting our own community events.
Yeah.
We would host like a car show because it was applicable to the karting venue. And so that drew in a lot of people.
Awesome.
So
are you getting those cool old school classic cars and meetups and everything?
Oh,
and
yes.
all of that? Oh, that's so neat.
Yeah.
And on brand too.
Yeah.
Like, that's really fun.
And it was neat because not only was it just a car show, we turned it into an entire event. So we would reach out to the community, we would get sponsors for that, and then some of the proceeds we would donate to a local charity.
Nice. Okay. So really weaving yourself into the fabric of that community was a big portion. Talk to me a little bit about Legacy 925. Like that is a fascinating concept, and it as I was looking online, it almost looks like it's an entertainment co-op of where you've got a variety of different options and food and beverage and all of that kind of stuff. So what was the kind of genesis of that, and what are you guys doing on a regular basis as far as overseeing that sales and business development side for them?
Yeah, so the Legacy 925 is, as you said, it's an entertainment district. So it is a building, and there are multiple entertainment businesses within that building. So tenants, if you will. There's an Urban Air, a K1 Speed. We've got Divot Den, which is golf simulators. Axe Social. So there's bowling. They've got axe throwing, obviously, an arcade, pool, and darts.
Oh, cool.
And then we do have a restaurant that occupies part of the space as well, G's Pizzeria.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of our food and beverage through G's Pizzeria, but they're also, they've got a storefront. So they've got their own fan base that will come in and just order pizzas, throughout the week. So it's a pretty neat concept. So what, we're doing is, we're trying to come up with a program or packages where we can sell multiple activities at once. So I think one of the focuses is how can we make the guest experience better through purchasing, right? So we want somebody to look at our venue. We want it to be easy and not confusing.
Sure.
And so right now, when you're trying to book an event and you've got multiple businesses, you want to be able to you want to go to play laser tag at Urban Air, and then you also want to, race a go-kart and then do some axe throwing. But since they're different businesses, how can we come together and create a package that people are wanting and still be able to help each of the businesses in their sales?
Well, and that's one, you feel like you've got a broader portfolio to offer people, and so you can now start to tailor and build custom packages across multiple venues. What are some of the challenges that you and the team focus on or are working to make sure, okay, hey, how do we, if we're that kind of one hand to shake and that single point of contact that can kind of Sherpa them and tailor and steward an experience that they're looking for, but then getting that to play nicely with an Urban Air point of sale and this business's, reservation, like how does that, what are some of the areas that you guys are working on to make that run smoothly?
Well, I mean, the biggest challenge is that they all have their different point of sale systems, right? So, the sales manager, she has one point of sale system, which is Triple Seat, and uses that platform to book for everybody else, and then has that shared calendar. And then every Tuesday we have a meeting with all of each of the businesses, and kind of, we go over what events are on the calendar so everybody is prepared. But I want to say one, in addition to that, is figuring out how to take that revenue and then divide it amongst each businesses.
Yes.
So right now it's like if when you're doing group sales, sometimes offering that discount because they're bringing in a large group. So figuring out how we can work with the businesses to, protect the margin.
Gotcha.
We obviously don't want to give away the farm. And the goal is, to create a good guest experience. Also kind of meet them with where they're at in their tolerance of spend. And so, I think just navigating those waters and figuring that piece out is kind of a challenge. But also because the venue is a unique layout, it's okay if we create a package with multi-attractions, do we want to do like a wristband method? Where are they going to check in? What if they walk into K1 Speed? How do we have to train somebody on their point of sale? Well, when you're a franchisee, you pay royalties.
Right.
So it's like, okay, maybe we can't run it through there. So there's just so many things to consider.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure that it's having that mindset of, okay, let's tinker, let's experiment, let's try different approaches, and then, dealing with the personalities of the different tenants and things as well to try to do that. Definitely not an easy challenge, but when you can have it come together that way, what an impactful offering to be able to do with that. When you are reaching out, even from a marketing perspective, are you, obviously those individual businesses can promote themselves and can have their kind of outreach and things. When somebody is coming to you and your team and looking for more of that holistic experience, what are some of the you talked about trainer-tainment and more of that question-based selling, and what is that discovery process? What are some of those critical things of good questions to ask so that way you can start to, be that sommelier and make some pairings and some recommendations that come along with that?
Oh, gosh, that's such a great question, actually. I love that. So I believe in question-based selling, right? Because, there's a difference between being an order taker and a salesperson, in my opinion. And, what we don't want is we don't want somebody that's just going to give you a sheet of paper and says, here's all our offerings, pick one, right? Because you're then putting it back on the guest.
Right.
And our goal is, again, guest experience. And so as a salesperson, if I'm trying, if I'm hitting commission or whether I'm trying to just develop, grow revenue, I'm going to look at like, how can I make this easy for them? And so if I can ask questions, right, and kind of put all the work on me and kind of get an understanding of like, what do you want? Like, are you flexible on your schedule? Like, what is your, what is your budget? And I know there's a lot of, some people, I know people feel when it comes to asking about budget that, there's different opinions around that, but it's worked well for me. It has. And it's, just sharing like, that's not going to like sway anything, but it's just going to help me be respectful in putting packages together so I can try to work, within that range. So I think it's how you approach it. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that, of like, let's get it out there and pose that question in a way that doesn't make it feel judgmental or anything else, because it's, there are some times where it's, hey, we can do the Taj Mahal for you, or we can do the other end of that spectrum. I don't want to, be frivolous with your budget. Like, and even asking things like, hey, the last time that your company did a corporate event, what did that look like? How, what was the goal that you guys had from a spend and what the end results were? And understanding what's most important to them, because then you can find ways to value engineer how all of that comes together that can still and be most effective with their budget.
Yes.
And making it, I always tell people, like, I'm a terrible salesperson, but my goal is to not to spend your money, but to figure out what's going to ultimately get the best end result for what you guys want. And then asking them, okay, well, of these, 3 things, and kind of breaking it down so they don't have the decision fatigue. And you can be a little bit of that Sherpa or that caddy that helps them, navigate the course a little bit.
Well, for sure. And I think too, to that point, you're building trust.
Right.
And so that's a big component to it as well. And knowing their budget, I'm not going to try to squeeze every penny out of them because like I want them to trust me, because there's always opportunity on the upselling end as it gets closer to the event or the day of the event, because you're not going to buy a car before you drive it, right? So allowing them to come in, offering them the opportunity or allowing them the opportunity to add stuff on the day of the event, you know, they can actually experience what you've talked about, or even an on-site visit, you know, invite them in. And so, you know, I am not afraid to tell people like, hey, I'm going to save you money.
You're right.
Like, I'm not going to shy away from that, because again, my goal is to build trust with the person that I'm talking to on the other end of the phone. And as a mom, I know what it's like. I love when I can save money, you know, if I can bundle, but more so, you know, really thinking about what it is that they want. And so if I can tailor those packages and if I'm asking those questions, then I can put together a couple of options, and I don't want to overload them. I don't want to overwhelm them. I don't want to confuse them. So like, you know, letting them know, here are the 3 options that I put together for you, but we can tailor, mix and match, but based on, you know, our conversation. And then from there, you know, set a follow-up. You always have the next step set up in sales, you know, because I think, you know, your follow-up and consistency there is equally as important.
I feel like that's one of the easiest and easiest opportunities to miss, and one of the most difficult things to consistently do well, right? Like, it's simple in its concept, but actually executing it at a regular basis to do those follow-ups, because sometimes it's, hey, they may only be able to be available to talk at certain times, and trying to be available all the time without burning yourself out. Are there any systems or tools that you guys use on the CRM side or in the engagement to just help that be a little bit more robust, and that way you can meet the customers kind of where they are on the path?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, having the a calendar invite, you know, so they can book a meeting with you, you know, and it depends on what CRM you use, but there are, you know, you can set task reminders. Or there's automations now, you know, a lot of people are using AI, and that's the direction that we're going, where, you know, AI can do some of your follow-up for you. So I think it just depends on your customer and what their preference is, because again, you're not going to always want to completely eliminate the human aspect of things. But yeah, I think there's many different ways that you can.
What are some of the key performance indicators or things of metrics that we that you and the team, I say we because I feel like we're fam, but what are some of those, hey, you know, do you guys break it down of, this is our conversion rate based on the number of inbounds, which means in order for us to hit the desired kind of goals or targets that we have, like these are the number that we need to do from an outbound? Like, where do you guys try to break the kind of systematized approach, or try to have that be okay, like I need to flex this area up a little bit more based on the inbound leads being down, or things like that? Are some of those systems or processes that work really well for you guys, or continuing to develop and refine?
Yeah, so I would say tracking our meaningful conversations is huge, right? Because it's easy to just have a conversation with somebody, but it's like, how many meaningful conversations are we having that's taking, you know, the person you're talking to from one step to the next? So how many of those do we need to close a deal? So we do track conversion, right? Because any inbound is a warm lead. I mean, they're already interested in your business. So, I mean, those ones, we want to make sure we get it right. So we want to track conversion, and we do. We track the conversion rates and see how that's performing, because it's not always a bad thing either. It's painting a picture into where we can maybe make some changes, right? So it's like, okay, if the conversion, we see, you know, the conversion rate's up and then it's down, it's like, okay, well, let's take a look at that. You know, let's start listening to phone calls. You know, is it the salesperson? Is it just, you know, there's a lot that you can tell from tracking certain things. And so another one that we track, I mean, I feel like we track a lot. But, and, you know, over time, we kind of like reduce to see what it is that we actually
What are the big needle movers for sure?
Exactly. So is guest per spend, or spend per guest. You know, per person, but then event spend. So if you're setting a metric where it's like, okay, if our event average spend is about $1,500, which includes, you know, activities, VIP room, food and beverage, then it's like, how many bookings do I need at this average ticket to hit my goal? So that's one way of looking at it. But then It's like, okay, when you're thinking of upsells or you're running fun promotions with your team on how to push more, or, I always include fun into, into my team, just because it's the industry we're in.
Absolutely.
But if you see like, okay, your average ticket per person is now like $35 a person. Okay, what can I do to make it 40, right? So can I just throw in this extra, arcade card or something? But that's also a good goal when you're tracking those.
I love that.
Metrics.
When you look at some of your favorite memories that you've been able to be a part of just by being in the business that we're in, is there one particular event that, whether it was a birthday party or it was a fundraising or a philanthropic piece, like what's one of your favorite just memories that you got to witness or contribute to in the industry?
Oh, I love that. Yes. So I had this one client at the karting venue, and they came every February, and it was such a fun event. They would rent the venue from, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. So it was a full day event, and they would offer breakfast, they would do presentations. But what I loved about it so much was we customized that entire event for them.
Okay.
And so we made it personal. And so they came back, for several years. And that was like, a $40,000 event.
Right.
Just one event. Yeah. And it was on a Monday,
Okay.
So we're like,
we'll take that during non-peak times.
But what I loved so much about that event with customizing it was, the go-kart racing. Like, how can I, it just added a little bit of uniqueness and a different element to, what you do on a daily.
Absolutely.
So to be able to create something special just for their team, like we had I called it a battlefield.
Okay.
So there was like archery tag, dodgeball, and so we would take that arena and like we turned it into like a minefield. Oh. So we put a bunch of stuff on the floor, and so a lot of it we tried to incorporate. It's actual team building.
Yeah.
So we built that element into it where we would like blindfold them, and somebody on their team would have to talk them through to get to the other side of this maze.
Yeah.
So we would say like that builds on communication, like how well you work with your team. And so we did that with each activity in our venue.
That's so cool.
So it just, and they were so appreciative and grateful, and it was just, it was so much fun to plan. And
Well, and I love the idea of, okay, well, these are the things that we have, and this is how they normally function, but now we're going to put a twist or a turn on that to, again, tailor that to what the experience actually is, or for that group and what their goals are out of that event. I think that's an underutilized piece that it's, whether it's somebody being more willing to either come back and do an event again and again because they see that type of boutique or white glove service that comes with, hey, we're not just kind of warehousing you for this experience. Yes, we've got cool stuff under the hood, but here's how we're going to take it even a step further for you to do that. So is that something that that you guys will then kind of brainstorm or have some thoughts of okay, how would we use this in a different way? Or is it just, hey, we've got this event, we know we need to tailor it, here's some of their goals, let's tailor it specifically to that end piece? Or do you guys just have some, okay, let's throw some stuff at the wall and see what's, kind of new and different to try?
Yeah, so I think it's a little bit of both, but it sparks other ideas for even other events,
Nice.
So then leaning more into the team building aspect of things, because I'm all about being a unicorn. What are we doing to stand out? What are we doing that's so different? Because we've got competition around us everywhere. Even, your Starbucks next door is competition.
It's time and money.
Exactly.
Yep.
So how can we capture our people or our guests to want to come back? And somebody here was saying, to expect to be somebody for everybody is unrealistic. And so you're not going to go to the same place all the time.
Right.
But at least how can we make it on their list of top 3 or 5,
Yeah.
And so from a corporate standpoint, it kind of teaches you to be creative in a way where it's like, okay, well, what more or what can we do different that other people aren't doing? And so it's that team building aspect. You got soccer go-karting, we've got, my favorite is we had throw bowling.
Yeah.
And so we would, there was 10 pins. So find a sentence that had to do with team building. That was 10 words.
Okay.
And we would tape different words to the bottom of the pin. And so they would have to like throw the football at the bowling and then knock it down, and then they'd have to run and then get the word off of the bottom of the bowling pin and then bring it back, and they would have to figure out what that sentence was.
Yeah.
So to kind of coordinate that, it was another offering that we can offer, and it became popular. And so we found that there was a need for something different. So even though you have a venue and you can we've got go-karting, we've got axe throwing, we've got bowling, we've got laser tag. It's like, how can we take it a step further and really speak their language?
Well, and have that familiar activity, but with a novel twist on it. So it's just not the same old at that point.
Exactly. And it ties back to the whole question-based selling.
Yes.
Right? So it's like, you would never know that if you're not asking,
right,
when they're inquiring, like, are you looking for something a little bit more structured, or is this just a very casual event where you guys are just looking to blow off some steam and have fun, know? So all of those questions help you kind of get creative and see, like, what can I do to offer a great experience?
I love that. Okay, before I let you go, I typically like to ask, is there a recent either audiobook or a podcast or a book or a quote that you have either had as a longtime staple for you, or something that you've just come across recently that you has served you well?
Can I list two?
Yeah. No.
Okay. Absolutely not. Okay. My all-time favorite is The Power of Moments.
Yeah.
I think it's Dan and Chip Heath.
Mm-hmm.
And an incredible book, especially if you're in this industry. The Power of Moments really it just hits.
Okay.
And I would say The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Oh, I don't know if I'm familiar with that. Okay, so tell me a little bit about that then before I let you go.
So he focusing on the one thing, right?
Okay.
And I think it's so easy for us to think of like sales and marketing,
mm-hmm,
right? Like, they're two different jobs, but a lot of times you see the same person wear,
both hats.
Yeah. And so he dives a little bit into the one thing and why it's important to focus on that instead of multiple things.
Oh, I dig it. Danielle, thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate it. If you guys have ideas for future content that you'd like us to check out or dive into, we will be more than happy to do so. If you like what you heard, we'll always take that 5-star review if we've earned it. And thank you all so much for joining us, and shout out to Mikey Mike on the ones and twos on the back end making this all come together, and we will catch you on the next one, Troublemakers.